Welcome back to a bit Gamey and another new series, which I'm going to call Rambles, which are like connected to wargaming, but only kind of indirectly connected to what I'm doing. Anyway, this one is about Games Workshop and Goodwill. Goodwill is something that they use to value companies, based on customer loyalty and all that jazz. Anyway, my I came into this thing is from as an Airfix generation person, getting little kits and whatever from the local news agent, and then Games Workshop came out afterwards, and after I stopped playing. So I used to pop in and have a look at the models and such, and I occasionally bought the books and read up on all the lore and all that. So I sort of know about that side of it, but I never actually played it. And the thing that sort of got me over the years, watching videos from people doing Games Workshop stuff, or talking about it, is that they've damaged their when you say Goodwill is something that's used to put a value on a company based on customer loyalty. And over the years, you sort of see all these videos, and they've definitely lost a section of that goodwill over time. You see videos of people complain about them constantly. And the other thing is that the people who still like them, they're kind of semi-reluctant. They'll talk about how they need to have the high prices to make a profit and all that, which is fair enough. But there's definitely a kind of a grating to it. So I knew about Games Workshop and 40k and all that jazz. So I never played it, but I knew a bit about it. And then you hearing over the years this sort of like a change in the mood of the player base. And it makes me think that I don't actually know what happened in Games Workshop, but I'll use that as an example. That if you have got a firm with a lot of goodwill, like I say, a lot of customer loyalty, and then you get a change in management, sort of some well-known manager, whatever, comes along as a sort of conductary or whatever, conduit, who's comes in from the outside, and they see there's all this goodwill, and they can push the prices up to take, using that goodwill as a sort of buffer. They can get away with it basically, and so the profitability of the firm goes up in the short term, but they're basically burning the goodwill, and in the long term, it's not so good for the company. And like I say, I don't know anything about what's happened with Games Workshop, but it does seem like because it had such a lot of goodwill, it wouldn't surprise me if that was a thing with them. There's a second point to that, which is if you start something off and you've got a lot of youngsters, buying the sort of figures and such, and then they get older and they're earning more money and they've got more spare cash, and so you're bumping the prices up, and it doesn't affect them too much because they're their money's going up as fast as the price is going up. But there's a risk there when you kind of, again, there's the barrier to entry. You got fewer new people coming in because the prices have gone up. You might still be doing okay in sales because you've got your older customers can soak up that money without a problem. But the newer ones going in, maybe they can't. So that's another thing to bear in mind. So why should that matter to me? As I don't play it or anything. Well, the thing is that I think for wargaming generally, you need at least one branch of it to have a low barrier to entry. And in the old days, Airfix, you could go in with your pocket money and buy a box or something, and you could get into it that way. And even today, there's still boxes like that, with Eshy and Tallery and Hat and all them. That you could, but they're not so much in news agents anymore. They're more likely online. So having Games Workshop shops available as a kind of entry level thing for youngsters to go in and buy a box of figures or whatever, that's good for everyone really. A lot of historical people quibble about it, but a lot of people got into the hobby through Games Workshop end up doing historicals later, and the thing about that is obviously the more people doing historicals, the more demand there is. It means there's more supply. So everyone who gets into the hobby, even if it's like 10, 15 years after they've been there, started with Games Workshop, they might be looking for some, some kind of a Slukied cavalry or, German archers or something, which is good for me. So basically, I think, the thing with Games Workshop generally is you want to have a low barrier to entry, even if they have expensive, figures above that. They want them to have a low barrier to entry, and I think not only is that good for people who are interested in historicals, it's in the long term it's good for the company as well. They'll make more money, because otherwise they'll just get someone comes in, raises the prices, increases the profitability, and then goes off to another job with that as a kind of little feather in their cap. But what they've actually done is reduce the long term prosperity of the company. So anyway, yeah. So this is just a comment that Games Workshop should, make sure there's a low barrier to entry, because that's good for people like me. That's good for people like me, basically, which is what I want. Okay, that's just a little ramble. Okay, to a little bit.